Good evening, Bush League members. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all enjoying your Monday nights after a good weekend. I wanted to take this opportunity to publicly thank all of you for your patience and your understanding as the commission worked incredibly hard for an incredibly long time to pour through all the data, crunch all the numbers, and come up with what we feel is a really meaningful and really a successful verdict. We feel good about what we've come up with, and we hope that you will too. The findings of the report are too long for me to get into here, but I did want to read a little bit from this brief summary. This is the brief summary of the comprehensive report on the findings of the Independent Commission regarding the status of rental trades in the Bush League. So I know that you are all anxious to hear the outcome of the report. The full findings of the report, unfortunately, will be highly classified under the statute of limitations for at least the next 5 years. It might be 7. You can check with league counsel. But the summary of the findings can be found here. I can arrange to email the summary to the owners if you'd like to read the entire thing. I don't want to read the whole thing here. But there is, a thorough kind of summary of what we went through, what we looked at, and what we arrived at, and all of the restrictions and everything else are detailed in this report, the summary of the report itself. The full summary, unfortunately, again, will be classified until further notice. I believe 5 to 7 years, depending on the statute of limitations for Bush League commissions. So, without further ado, I wanted to start just by reading a brief section of the introduction, and then I will skip down to the verdict itself, and we'll highlight some of the additional components of this verdict, as I'm sure that there will be many questions about this. And again, I will arrange with league offices to get this summary emailed to all owners so that they can read it on their own time. But for right now, we will start here. So, introduction. The Bush League has existed for years as a shining example of the ideal fantasy baseball league and quite possibly ideal version of any fantasy sports league. The main reasons for this are simple: consistent leadership, ample owner engagement, and a willingness to adapt along with the game. This league is the envy of other fantasy baseball leagues, largely due to its willingness to embrace innovative ideas and push the boundaries of what is possible in the world of fantasy baseball. While this innovation is a large part of what sets the league apart from other leagues around the world, it also comes with the risk of changes that just may not work. This can happen for multiple reasons. Perhaps the idea was just too far ahead of its time. Other times an idea can be good in theory but not in practice, and sometimes there are good ideas that could ruin the Bush League if they are not checked so as to ruin the integrity of the upstanding institution that is the Bush League. Our job as the commission was to determine the status of rental agreements as it applies to those 3 categories that I just listed. Again, there's a little bit more. We do want to state that we were honored to be chosen for this patriotic duty of conducting this commission. We do feel it was our life's greatest work. And we want to thank you all for the responsibility, especially Commissioner Stolzenberg, league offices, for trusting us with such an impactful verdict. So, without further ado, I'm skipping down now to the bottom of page 1. Without further ado, the verdict is as follows. Rental agreements, that is, any trade containing an agreement between the trade partners to return one or more players after the conclusion of the season, will be allowed to continue. I will repeat that. Rental agreements will be allowed to continue as a part of the Bush League. However, there will be restrictions placed on such agreements to prevent the dilution of more conventional trade deals and an onslaught of talent changing hands, which were some of the concerns that led to this creation of this commission in the first place. And so the restrictions, I will highlight them high level. I get into more detail in the summary again, which will be emailed out to the owners, but the restrictions are as follows. Owners will only be allowed to make a finite number of rental deals in any given season, and that number will be determined by the number of keepers each year. So as the keeper number has fluctuated, we wanted to allow for the flexibility for that number to move in the future. So what we decided on was that the number of rental agreements allowed per owner per year will never exceed more than 50% of the number of keepers allowed for that year. So in a standard year where we have 5 keepers, we will round up and we will say that each owner is allowed to make 3 rental agreements. Now, I want to clarify that that doesn't mean that there will be 36 rental agreements. In fact, it does mean there will be 18, because each trade, that is one player traded to another in return, will count as a rental agreement for each owner involved. Therefore, there will only be a maximum of 18 rental agreements in any given season. So we wanted to be able to utilize this tool, but sparingly, so as not to create a situation where unseen amounts of talent were changing hands after the year and during the year and so on and so forth. So there's more of that. More details on that are included in the summary. The next restriction is that all rental agreements will be subject to official review if voted upon by 2/3 majority of the owners. Now, the proposal here, I want to get a little bit into the details here. The commission's proposal here is that league offices come up with a process similar to that of the off-season trade announcements, where the vice commissioner announces a trade as it gets made. Given the limited number of rental agreements that should occur throughout the course of a given year, we felt this would not be an insurmountable obstacle to create this sort of a reporting system. And so the proposal is this. Within 48 hours of a trade's terms being released, a rental trade's terms being released, any owner with issues can make a proposal to subject the trade to official review. If that proposal is backed by 2/3 of the uninvolved owners, I want to be very clear there, the involved owners of the trade will not be allowed to participate in that particular vote, and if they do, their votes will not be counted. Therefore, if 7 of the 10 additional owners vote to subject any given trade to official review, it will roll into the official review process, which, as outlined in this summary, will be determined by league offices, though the commission does strongly recommend that the determination of what the official review process looks like be highly transparent and involve input from the rest of the owners. The purposes for this particular restriction are outlined in the summary, but the main idea is to allow for one of the greatest facets of the Bush League, the democratic recourse that we have to partake and take place in the event of an unfair deal or any owner gaining an unfair advantage through the usage of this, what should be innovative and exciting new trade tools. So we want to ensure that there is an avenue by which the rest of the owners can prevent such a trade from going through if they feel that trade is in that category. So the third and final restriction is that rental agreements will be restricted to players only. This one was less of a concern, but we felt we needed to, given the creativity and the innovative nature of all of the Bush League owners, we felt that we needed to establish that, at least for the time being, rental agreements should only ever and will only ever include players. That is to say that you can exchange draft picks for the next draft as you normally would as the part of a deal, but only players will ever be returned to another owner after the season. There will be no exchanging of draft picks outside of the regular season, unless they are part of a regular off-season trade, per usual. So just wanted to clarify that for tracking purposes and for parity purposes, we wanted to ensure that only players were changing hands after the season ends. We also proposed as a part of this report multiple review protocols to ensure that what we think is is a great verdict that will improve the league and allow for some very creative, very fun, very exciting deals to be made. We do recognize that there is the potential that this will work out in a different way than we envisioned. And so we want to enumerate the ways in which that can be addressed if that does in fact come to pass. So we are the review protocols are as follows, and I'll just breeze through these quickly. The league offices will retain the power to revisit but not to revoke the findings of this report if agreed upon by a 2/3 majority of owners. So that means the league offices will explicitly not have the power to undermine unilaterally the findings of this report in this commission. We wanted to ensure that our independent nature was solidified in the Bush League, and we feel as though this is the way to do it. If the people want it, so be it, but it will not be something that is agreed upon by any small number of owners, even though that is not such a thing that our league offices would ever do. It just seemed as though it was prudent to include that in this report. By the same token, any amendment to this verdict or these findings will be allowed, but only if agreed upon by a 2/3 majority of owners. We understand that this is a it's a moving target, if you will. The league is constantly evolving, as is the game of baseball and the game of fantasy baseball, and we want to ensure that this document and these findings are not obsolete, not rendered obsolete by the fast-paced world of fantasy baseball. The verdict issued herein will be considered binding to all owners, effective immediately, unless expressly stated otherwise by Commissioner Stolzenberg. We were not told as a part of the directive we were given whether the findings would be subject. I believe that the decision that was made by league offices was to render this verdict effective immediately, binding upon all owners. If there is any alternative implementation structure that the league offices had in mind, we'll leave it up to them to bring that to the attention of the owners. And finally, league officers will be responsible for handling all of the logistics of implementing this verdict, including but not limited to the grandfathering of trades from this season that are affected by the verdict, the establishment of the official review procedures, the division of labor regarding announcing and regulating rental trades, etc. So we wanted to be very clear that we are not overstepping our bounds as an independent commission. We want to leave the running of the league to the people who have gotten us here thus far. We simply wanted to issue what we felt our feelings were on the important issue of rental trades, and we felt that this was a verdict that we all agreed upon. We all felt good about putting it out there, and one of the things that we do put in the summary is we understand that not all of the owners will agree with this necessarily, but I hope that at the very least, you all understand that we at the Piemonte Commission really tried to arrive at a decision here that would increase the parity, increase the competitiveness, and allow for more exciting, fun trades to come through the league without compromising the integrity of the league that we all have come to love so much. So with that, I thank you for your time. I apologize for the length of the process, including this video and including the delay on getting the report issued, but this was not something that we wanted to take lightly. It was not something that we felt should be skimped on in any way, shape, or form. So thank you again for your trust and in allowing us to dive in, as it were. Any and all support for this could be published at some point. I don't know what the league office's thoughts are on that. That will be something that they will decide down the road. But that is all we have for this evening. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And as always, God bless the Bush League.